Dawn broke over Maryland as two armies faced off, but by nightfall, 23,000 Americans lay dead, wounded, or missing. A single day bloodier than D-Day, Pearl Harbor, and September 11th combined. Antietam was not just a battle. It redrew the future of slavery, shattered the Confederacy's diplomatic hopes, and would haunt the nation forever. What happened that morning that turned a hidden order, a cornfield, and human error into the bloodiest day in American history? September 13th, 1862. In a clover field near Frederick, Indiana, soldiers from the 27th stumbled on a small bundle, 3 cigars wrapped in a sheet of paper. That paper was Special Order 191, Robert E. Lee's entire plan for the Maryland campaign. The order spelled out where every Confederate division would move, how Lee's army was split, and exactly how vulnerable it was. Corporal Barton Mitchell handed it to Sergeant John Bloss, who passed it up the chain to Colonel Silas Colgrove, then to Brigade Commander Marcina Patrick, and finally to General George B. McClellan. By late afternoon, the Union commander held the South's secret in his hands. McClellan read the order, recognized the handwriting of Lee's adjutant, and famously declared, "Here is a paper with which, if I cannot whip Bobby Lee, I will be willing to go home." He now knew Lee's army was scattered, with key units miles apart and the Potomac River at their backs. The Union outnumbered Lee nearly 2-1. For a brief moment, the war's outcome seemed within McClellan's grasp, but McClellan hesitated. Instead of striking quickly, he waited, convinced Lee's numbers were larger than they were. His army moved cautiously, advancing in fits and starts. Meanwhile, Lee learned through a Maryland civilian that his plans had been compromised. He acted fast, calling his forces back together near Sharpsburg, digging in with his back to the river, a position that left him little room for retreat. By dawn on September 17th, both armies faced each other across the fields near Antietam Creek. Lee's gamble was set. The Union had the advantage of numbers and intelligence, but the window to trap and destroy the Confederate army had closed. Now, fate would be decided not by secret orders or grand strategy, but by the men who would fight and fall in the fields ahead. At first light on September 17th, the cornfield stood tall and green, 30 acres of late summer growth between the Union and Confederate lines. That calm lasted only minutes. At 5:30 a.m., Union General Joseph Hooker's First Corps surged forward, men advancing through the stalks in tight formation, bayonets glinting in the morning haze. Musket fire erupted from the tree line. In seconds, the cornfield became a killing ground. The fighting was relentless. Lines of blue and gray clashed at close range, the air thick with smoke and the shouts of officers struggling to keep order. The field changed hands again and again, 15 times in 3 hours by some counts. Every 12 minutes, control shifted, each side pouring in fresh regiments only to see them cut down. A Union officer later wrote that every stalk of corn was cut as closely as could have been done with a knife, and the slain lay in rows precisely as they had stood in their ranks. The 1st Texas Infantry entered the cornfield with 226 men. 30 minutes later, 186 were casualties, an 82% loss. Survivors described the ground so thick with bodies that there was nowhere to step. The Louisiana Tigers, thrown into the fray, lost nearly 2/3 of their men in a single charge. Union regiments fared little better. The 12th Massachusetts lost 2 out of every 3 soldiers in the first hour. By 9 a.m., more than 12,000 men had fought in those 30 acres. The cornfield, once a sea of green, was now flattened and red with blood. Neither side gained the upper hand. The cost was measured in thousands of casualties, the ground itself offering no victory, only exhaustion and silence, as the smoke cleared and the fight shifted south. South of the cornfield, the sunken road cut a deep scar through the rolling Maryland farmland. Worn down by years of wagon traffic, its banks rose 3 to 6 feet above the lane, forming a natural trench. Confederate troops under D.H. Hill lined the road, muskets braced on the earthen walls, eyes fixed on the open fields ahead. At 9:30 in the morning, Union General William French's division advanced across that open ground. The attackers moved in tight formation, blue coats bright against the dust, and instantly drew a storm of fire from less than 100 yards away. Soldiers dropped by the dozens, but the Union lines pressed forward, wave after wave, men stumbling over the fallen. For nearly 4 hours, the sunken road became a shooting gallery. The noise was deafening, the air thick with powder and screams. French's men lost more than 1,700 out of 5,700 in the first hour alone. Both sides fought at point-blank range, neither willing to give an inch. Around noon, confusion spread through the Confederate ranks. A misunderstood order caused part of the line to pull back. Union troops surged forward, pouring musket fire the length of the trench. Bodies piled so high that survivors later said, "You could walk from one end of the lane to the other without touching the ground." By 1 in the afternoon, the sunken road had earned its new name, Bloody Lane. The Confederate center was broken, the lane choked with the dead and dying. Yet, despite this opening, the Union advance stalled. Reserves waited, but the final push never came. On the southern end of the field, Antietam Creek twisted past a narrow stone bridge, just 125 feet long, guarded by Confederate riflemen on the bluffs above. General Ambrose Burnside had 12,000 Union soldiers at his command, facing fewer than 500 Georgians under Robert Toombs. The numbers favored the Union, but the ground did not. For hours, Burnside's men hurled themselves at the bridge. 3 separate charges ended the same way. Volleys from the heights cut down blue-coated lines before they could even reach the arches. The bridge and creek ran red as bodies piled up on the stones and floated downstream. Burnside's fixation on the bridge cost precious time. Scouts had found fords upstream, but orders were clear: take the bridge. It was not until 1 p.m. that the 51st New York and 51st Pennsylvania, fighting side by side, finally stormed across, driving the defenders back. Union troops surged over the bridge and pressed up the slopes, pushing the Confederates toward Sharpsburg. By 3 p.m., Burnside's men threatened to cut off Lee's only route of escape. Then, from the west, a column of gray appeared. A.P. Hill's division, fresh from a 17-mile march from Harper's Ferry. Hill's 3,000 men slammed into the exhausted Union flank, their sudden arrival turning hope into chaos. The Union advance crumbled. Burnside's men fell back toward the creek, their chance for a decisive victory slipping away as the sun dipped lower in the sky. Night brought a hush over the battered fields of Sharpsburg, but the cost of the day was impossible to ignore. Nearly 23,000 men, Union and Confederate, were killed, wounded, or missing. The ground was soaked with the price of indecision and valor alike. Lee, seeing no hope of breaking the Union line, and with his army battered, ordered a silent withdrawal across the Potomac on September 18, 1862. The Confederate gamble in Maryland was over. In Washington, Abraham Lincoln watched for news. He had drafted a proclamation that would free all slaves in Confederate territory, but he needed a battlefield success to give it weight. Antietam, bloody as it was, gave him that opening. On September 22, 1862, just 5 days after the guns fell silent, Lincoln issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. It warned the South to return to the Union by January 1, 1863, or slavery in rebellious states would end. The war's purpose shifted. It was no longer just about preserving the Union, but about freedom itself. Across the Atlantic, British and French leaders reconsidered their stance. Antietam's outcome and Lincoln's bold move made supporting the Confederacy far riskier. Without foreign recognition, the South's hopes for legitimacy and aid faded. Back in the Union camp, General McClellan's caution could no longer be overlooked. Despite having Lee's plans and superior numbers, he failed to destroy the Confederate Army. Lincoln removed him from command 6 weeks later. The bloodiest day in American history had redrawn the map, not just of the war, but of the nation's future. Antietam's fields remain silent, but its legacy is written in every debate over the cost of division and the meaning of freedom. The decisions made here still echo in how America defines itself. Every generation must reckon with what unity and sacrifice truly demand. Thanks for watching.